All right, zipeL, we had ecstatic here yesterday. Heartbreaking exit from the major with a loss to G2. First of all, can you tell me how you felt after that and having the chance to watch your team compete at the major and the way it ended?
I would say after map one, it's a pretty convincing map for G2, and that clawback on Vertigo. Um, I don't even think that I believed in it at one point. Like being down 1-8 against a team like G2, I don't think there are many teams in the world, if any, that can do that. And seeing that obviously gave me confidence in that we can actually do this. So starting on map 3, we go up 4-0. Monacy just starts clutching a 1v1, he drops a bomb, 4-2, and then they just string 8 rounds together in a row. And from there on out, it was a little bit, looked dark, but the boys kept fighting, they kept winning rounds they shouldn't win. There was one unfortunate Glock round. But, really it was just great showing from them. I think they could have won. But, aside from that, I think, there's nothing else to say. I'm just, proud of them, and I think that they gave it their all. And I think those rounds in the end showed it as well, that they just never gave up. So,
As one of the owners of the organization, can you tell me about making the major as an org that's not established and not one of the big names out there, even whether it's in Brazil or in Europe, to get a team to the major and the kind of impact that has for you?
I mean, I think when I joined the org, it wasn't that long before we reached the RMR in Malta, and that by itself was an outrageous experience because we came into that RMR when we had Manx, thinking that we get to play G2, and then we get 16-0, and it was a quick exit from the tournament. 0-3. I remember we had a crazy comeback on Nuke against Bait, where we turned a 3-15 deficit into overtime and then lost the first round of overtime. And it felt like we were spectators in that RMR. And then coming into this one, we almost didn't make it through. The qualifier that got us here to the close qualifier, we were down a decent amount of rounds against Unity, and then managed to push it to OT and then win an OT. So also, maybe one play away from not even making it to the close quals. Then we made close quals, we made it to the RMR, we made the major, and then we make it out of the opening stage. And you just keep on surprising and keep on sort of pushing what we think is possible. And it just all happened so quickly. So I don't think anyone really just had a time to sit down and reflect on the whole thing. So as an org, we obviously had some. We could see that there are obviously more opportunities in terms of sponsorships and people reaching out, and there's a lot more traffic in that regard. But it's not really anything that we've had time to do anything with. When you look at bigger organizations, if they're going into an RMR, they're probably already looking at sponsorships 6 months in advance and stuff like that. And from an organization that, on paper probably at least before qualifying would be looked at as a T3 organization at best, maybe even. Maybe I'm being harsh here, but that's just what I hear everyone call us. Then it's not really something that you're not reaching out to brands asking them for sponsorships if we do qualify. So I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if this answers your question, but I just think that it's a very sudden thing, and I think now we need to go home and sort of just get an overview of how we do things from here on out.
The way you describe it makes it seem like it's almost harder than you'd think. Like, getting far in the major isn't 100% a benefit when you're an org this size and you are super caught off guard by it. Is that right?
No, I mean it's obviously a massive benefit because there's a huge monetary gain in making it, but it's what you do from here on out that counts, right? You need to do the right things, and you need to sort of try and that's you know how it is with small organizations that do well, players get poached. It's always the same thing. Then you try and rebuild, or you try and protect it at all costs, and then the the organization shuts down, right? So there's a lot to think about, and that there's a lot of different routes you can take it from here, and
As the owner of one of the owners of this organization, being able to compete at the major in general, but especially one in Denmark, can you tell me how that was for you?
yeah, I mean, I remember us being at the RMR and then seeing some losses here and there, and then we were at one point we were saying, imagine a world where we're the only Danish team that gets here, and Astrala's not making it, and us making it here. Heroic, having a Danish core, but us being the only fully Danish and Danish-owned team was, absolutely surreal as well. But as I said, everything happened so fast, so you didn't really have time to soak it in. And yeah, but I think we've seen a lot of support from everyone, and it's been great.
You say that there's a lot you're going to have to figure out leaving from here. What's the current, I guess, short-term plan or initial ideas in your head as you leave the major?
Initial plans. I mean, I suppose we want to just sort of utilize momentum from having been here. Talks to different companies and trying to sort of see if we can make a longer term plan that actually makes our organization sustainable, because it is a huge opportunity. Because in Counter-Strike right now, as it is, especially if with the majority of prize money going to players, I think there's not really much from an organization like us that doesn't even have a sponsor to, well, at the time now we have one, but to make any money, right? So it's really either you apparently get to a major and you can make it, or you just go bankrupt. Like, that's literally how organizations have, been running. And I think we've done it a bit differently. We've obviously operated at a loss. I mean, that's a given, because how would we not have? But still not at an aggressive level. It's very like trying to source players from new teams, and not new teams, but up and coming players, and trying to work around that. And it's obviously been hard. Like we have success with one player, like Manx, and then he's off to Amadi, and Faster off to Fnatic, and etc. Right? So to actually be able, when you know that every time someone performs in the past, they've sort of just been poached. I think that the fact that we managed to have these guys together for so long now, and actually make it to a major, is very impressive. And I think if you think about other organizations that have made it to a major, I don't think there's anything comparable to this. I think we are by far the organization that has made it to a major with the least amount of resources. So it's impressive, and I just proud that we made it happen. And I'm just, the players are insane.
Lastly, the financial impact of stickers has been talked about for ages, especially with the amount of emphasis there is on just qualifying for the major. Some people have said that the RMR is more important. Just from the financial side, what kind of impact does that have for an organization of your side? Obviously, we don't know exactly what the sticker money for this major will look like quite yet, but just a general idea.
Yeah, it's kind of an intimidating thing, because when we qualified, like, we were just like, how does this even work? What happens now, right? Like, it's all new, because let's be real, it wasn't in anybody's bingo cards that we would be here at the major, right? So when that happens, it's like you hear about the success of Paris and how much people got for that tournament, and then you hear about how little people got at Rio, and then you sort of you can't really make any plans, because nothing is guaranteed. You don't know what you're getting. So we're still just approaching it in a very sensible way, and then seeing how it ends, and if it's something that if it's a an amount where we can run the org in a different way, still being, you know, the sustainable way where we don't have some aggressive strategy of, you know, signing some really good team and then, you know, if we don't make a major, we close the company. Like that's obviously not the goal. So we want to be here for a long time, and if it means, you know, having sort of to manage with a little bit less, that's better than having to shut down, I think.
Thank you.